Great. So thank you very much for invitation. And I'm Cheng Lin from Tsinghua University. And I'm very happy to share with you how China actually in the past few years was trying to realize a low carbon pathway for its economy and development through a market-based solution, green finance. And I heard also a lot of experts already mentioned green finance, including previous session, which I enjoyed a lot. So I have 6 minutes. Let me just be quick. I'll be focusing on first two topics, and then leave the third topic for the second round. So first two topics include overview of China's green financial market since early 2015 and 2016. And then second part will be focusing on net zero target, how green investment opportunities will be coming out, and the transition risks that financial institutions and investors need to pay attention to. First part is on the green financial products market. By now, we have already got a very I think deep green financial market in China, and which is already one of the largest in the world, including at least 4 parts. The first part is on green credits or green loans. Second thing is green bonds. Third part is on green insurance, and number 4 is green funds. And the largest one coming from green credits and green bonds. So here is a chart and a pie. On the left hand is the number of outstanding green loans in China, 21 largest commercial banks, which are nationally operating. And of course, there are also hundreds of smaller banks, but they are also operating in regional level, and the numbers are much smaller. So by end of 2020, the total outstanding green loans in China, 21 largest commercial banks, were reaching around like 12 trillion RMB, which was around 1.8 trillion US dollars. I think it's one of the largest, probably the largest in the world, as only China has the taxonomy for green loans. On the right is the spreadsheet of where these loans are coming from. The largest issuer is Green China Development Bank. And the second one is Industrial and Commercial Bank of China. The next slide, I'll show you how the green bonds market performed in the past 4 years. So you will see in the very beginning, the green bond market was standing at somewhere like 300 billion RMB. It was coming out of almost nothing. So a lot of colleagues saying China's green bond market was growing from almost zero to hero overnight. And by end of 2020, the total green bonds issued by China financial institutions and the companies in the world, including those based in mainland China and also overseas, especially in Europe, was more than 1.4 trillion RMB. And then the second part is on how many international initiatives and collaborations China has participated since 2016, including the G20 Green and Sustainable Finance Study Group, and also participating in the central banks and regulators network for greening the financial system as a founding member. And then how China is paying special attention to greening investments in the Belt and Road. So I'll go through this very quickly. In G20, the Green and Sustainable Finance Study Group was co-chaired by China and the UK, 2 central banks. Since 2016 and 18, for 3 consecutive years, the green and the sustainable finance has been focused on quite a huge range of topics, which probably I will discuss later. And then on the NGFS was very recently established in December 2017, and 8 central banks regulators coming from China, France, the UK, Germany, Singapore, and Mexico, and Norway. So these central banks and this network has grown to more than 135, and most recently, I think Fed also joined the NGFS as the most recent member. And the last thing, as I mentioned, is the green investment principles for the Belt and Road, as a very important initiative to green not only investments within China, but also investments overseas, especially by investors based in China, and also the financial institutions who are supporting and sponsoring those projects to make sure green investments and also carbon neutrality or low carbon development is not only realized in China, but also the potential for Belt and Road countries are also involved in the whole process. My second part of the slides will be focusing on the green investment opportunities and the transition risks that investors and financial institutions need to pay attention in the coming decades, as China announced the carbon neutrality by 2060. And Jeffrey also mentioned that China has the potential to escalate that to earlier dates. And I strongly believe with him. And there are many local governments and sectors that has the potential to achieve maybe earlier. I will just share maybe with you a few points where we think the green finance can be more improved to meet such a target on green on carbon neutrality. As many studies have already estimated that realizing carbon neutrality in China will entail hundreds of trillions of yuan in green investment in the coming decades. And in Tsinghua University, the study shows that in energy sector alone, the investment needs for green investments will be around more than 135 trillion RMB. That's a lot of investments. So just a perspective of how much the money is. By 2020, the overall GDP of China was only slightly above 100 trillion RMB. So the investments for green in energy sector will be somewhere more, maybe 1.4 times of this GDP in 1 year. In order to mobilize those investments, of course, most of them will have to come from the private sector, and also consumers would have to contribute as well. Local authorities and financial regulators must be prepared and take the lead in formulating roadmaps for green finance development. First, we think green finance standards should be revised with carbon neutrality as its goal in the center. We already have the green finance standards, but now it's outdated and also needs to be improved, at least to be aligned with the carbon neutrality goal. Second thing is the financial institutions should disclose environmental information, including their green and high carbon assets and their carbon footprints. A lot of information disclosure is already in place in not only the central government, but also in local governments, but it's not aligned, and we are encouraging them to be disclosing as maybe in alignment with internationally recognized standards like TCFD. Thirdly, major financial institutions shall conduct environmental and climate risk analysis to better understand the credit, market, and reputation risk involved in climate change. This is very crucial to make sure financial institutions and investors understand that this environmental and climate risks are bringing material risks to their investments. Otherwise, they will be turning into stranded assets. And so that they will understand that they probably will turn and divest from high carbon and make more investments in green. The fourth thing is a more effective incentive mechanism for green finance shall be established. In different local governments, incentive mechanisms were already established. But in China, we are discussing maybe two major incentives. One thing is to establish a green real lending facility by the central bank. I think it will be at least more than 100 billion RMB. And the second thing is consideration of adjusting the risk weights of green and high carbon assets by the banking system. Number four point would be the foreign exchange, and sovereign wealth fund managers should actively carry out a sustainable investment to guide private sector and the social capital to participate in green finance. So currently the investors and participants to the green financial market are coming from banks and private sectors, but actually foreign exchange and also the sovereign wealth fund managers are not 100% aligned with this trend. So they need to be involved as well, because China, as everybody knows, has the largest foreign exchange reserve in the world. And the sovereign wealth funds actually are also playing a very important role in China's market. Number six is the financial regulators should mandate environmental impact assessments of overseas investments. So not only in China, but also along the Belt and Road, and stop investing in polluting and high carbon projects. So lastly, will be investors and financial institutions should also be encouraged to support transitory activities through transition finance. So I probably will stop here, and I'll discuss later for the rest of my slides. Back to you, Chair.